Happy October, it's fall. Welcome to the tune of the month. I have another tune for you. The tune I actually have for you this month is a jig. This is a jig that I've known forever. I learned it from Don Roy and Ben Gilmet and these other guys who are original members of a group called the Maine French Fiddlers up north in Portland, Maine. This is a tune that has it's a jig and it has a name conflict. I know it as Suzanne's jig. Another part of the fiddling world knows it as Stan's jig, so I can only assume that two guys learned this tune from somebody at a crowded, noisy pub, and at the end they said, "Hey, what's the name of that?" And he said, "This jig," and they made up names that started with S. So you can call it either one. You may get responses from different fiddlers depending on which name you use, so try both, Suzanne's or Stan's jig. Here we go. So if you like listening, that's your little spiffy not quite concert for the month. If you like learning, here we go, we'll dig into this. So as you can see, it's an extremely playful jig. One of the things I love most about this tune is that it's very easy to play around with and to create all sorts of little variations. You may have noticed when I played it through fast, it sounded like I didn't repeat it the same way twice. And you're right, I sort of didn't, but I actually kind of did. The way this tune is put together, it gives you a skeleton that's very easy to make little variations on, which is a great skill to have for any tune that you want to jazz up and create some variation. So we'll look at how to do that now. But we'll start first with just the basic tune itself. This is a jig in A major. If you would like to read along, make sure you're on my mailing list. I always email out sheet music fully marked with all the ornaments and bowings and everything like that with the tune of the month. And you can grab that on my website, mariblack.com. So, we're in A major, 3 sharps, and here it is slowly with no ornaments and no super fancies. Section. You may notice that it follows a tune construction sort of similar to the reel we did last month. There's a part 1, and it turns around, and it goes back to part 1, and there's an ending, right? The first part is a great big A major arpeggio. Stay A. Now to D. Stay D. Now turn it around. Here's a turnaround again. It's a little bit sneaky. I call that a cute chromatic, right? It's chromatic, it has that high D sharp, high third finger, and then it slides down to the low third finger where it belongs. Goes back to the beginning. A major. Stay A. D. Stay D. E. And here's the turnaround, oh sorry, the ending. And the ending's almost like the turnaround, only instead of the cute chromatic, you just go straight down the scale. Here's the turnaround. Here's the ending. Now the reason I just showed you those both carefully is that they both are going to come back in the B section. So if you learn them now, when we get to it in the B section, you won't have to learn it new again. Yes, extra work removed. So that's the whole A section slowed down. Should we put it all together? You may have noticed a couple grace notes from previous month's videos sneaking in there, a couple little hammer-ons, a couple little flaps, if you don't know what those are, you can jump back to previous videos and get the breakdown of exactly how to do them. But this tune is a great place to start experimenting with the grace notes that we've done and where you can get them in. Remember, long notes are always a great opportunity to add a grace note because you've got time. Alright, so now we need the B section. I'm not even going to play this through slowly because it is so easy. You actually already know almost every piece you need to put this B section together. The only thing you need is the first part. It goes like this. A major arpeggio. The only non-A arpeggio note is that first grace note. And you use it here. You got that little gesture? It's down the arpeggio, turn around and back up. Turn around, back up. Now you're going to do the exact same thing, only using a D major arpeggio. Guess what? Same thing, only using an E major arpeggio. And if you don't know an E major arpeggio, actually you do. It's the A bumped over one string. And now guess what? The turnaround that you already know from the A section. Start over. A. That's the whole B section. Super easy. And not only does thinking about those arpeggios help you keep track of the tune, it will also give you clues as to the chords of the tune if you find yourself in a position to be accompanying it. We'll get into that in another month, or how to accompany these tunes. But it's a good thing to know about. Okay, so the B section is one of the greatest places to create these little variations that we talked about, right? After you've put in your grace notes and things like that. When we learned it, there's a lift. Lift. That lift's a great little space, but if you do it every time, it gets a little old. So, how about instead of the lift, let's just keep the arpeggio. See what I did there? Just down and up. Try it again. back and do it again with the ending. So with just these two possibilities, the lift and the full arpeggio, if you mix up the order that you do them in, you end up with a lot of variation very quickly. So you could do, you've got 3 arpeggios and then a turnaround, and then 3 more in the ending, right? So you could go lift, lift, arpeggio, turnaround, arpeggio, lift, lift, ending. Already it sounds like you're not even playing the same tune repeated twice. I'll show you. Deciding as I go. I decide all 3 in a set, so I get kind of a pattern. And one of my favorites to do is on the repeat, when you're going for the ending. I go arpeggio, arpeggio, lift. Because the 2 arpeggios kind of build energy and tension, and then at the end you have this little whoop and land. It's very cute. So you can play around with just changing up those 2. It's a very powerful way to create variation, and in fact when you're hearing all these fancy variations in other fiddle tunes, that's usually what's going on. They're alternating between 2 or maybe 3 different options. So it's actually very controlled. It's not that you're making up new notes every time, it's that you have a couple little tricks and you're choosing which one to use. It organizes everything. There's another opportunity for this in the A section, right off the bat, on that big A major arpeggio. Right? That has a lot of quarter eighth motion. If you want to give it a little more momentum, you can make it all eighth notes. And all I'm doing to get that is I'm filling in the missing note in the skip, right? Instead of I'm going. Instead of. That's a great way to create variation in a jig. Anytime you have a quarter eighth motion that has a skip, you can turn it into 3/8 notes just by filling in the middle. The only thing I changed between the 2 sections, the turnaround time and the ending time, that for an arpeggio. But I bet you it sounded a lot different if you're just listening without knowing the trick behind it. There are other opportunities for this in jigs and more jigs, and you can kind of look for places to do that, to turn a quarter eighth skip into a little scale. That's a great way to create variation, and it doesn't take a whole lot to make a tune sound a lot different. So play around with these ideas, throw some of the grace notes that we've done before in them, and see what you can do with this jig. It's very fun, it's playful, it takes a lot of variation. It will handle a lot of variation, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I'm curious to hear what you come up with, and we'll look forward to playing this tune with you out on the road if and when I see you. Have fun, everybody. Bye.